Hey, White Sox fans, it's Crystal O'Keefe with episode 38 of Visiting Dugout, brought to you by the South Side Sox, part of Fans First Sports Network. Welcome to the last show of the season, since the White Sox clearly will not be playing any October baseball. But I have another person on the show that probably won't watch his team play October baseball. The Padres are out of contention, losing season below 500. We know the feeling. So yeah, I have Javier Reyes. He is the host of Locked on Padres and several other places, not necessarily related to baseball, but very accomplished. So hello.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I do okay out here sometimes. I do better than the Padres apparently. When it comes to just doing things, you know what I mean, in a lot of ways. But thank you so much. I'm really excited. I love the work you guys have been doing over at Southside. Just granted, rather cursory knowledge of all things White Sox, and I'm a little bit of a newbie, but I have enjoyed the site and the stuff that you guys have been doing. I think it's really unique in a ever growing sports media landscape. So shouts to you guys.
We have to get really creative when the seasons are really bad. So thankfully we have a
Mhm,
kind of
mhm.
just creative people on board. So this
You got it,
season,
man.
what on earth
Mm.
happened to the Padres this year?
Well, it's funny because we got like those articles of the Padres recently. Like I was waiting. I actually did an episode of my show, Locked on Padres, where I was like, all right, here's the reasons to still watch the team. Root for Tatis to maybe be a 30-30 guy and root for Blake Snell to get the Cy Young. Some obvious ones. The next one was like just wait with anticipation, whatever that athletic article is going to drop. And I was wrong. We got one for the San Diego Tribune that like made Manny Machado a little bit look like he was not the bad guy, but like to blame. But then it didn't entirely. That's just unfortunately the clickbait status, I think, of it. But then you had that, and then you had the athletic article, which I believe compared said that the relationship between the Padres general manager AJ Preller and their manager Bob Melvin is unfixable. So look, man, it's been really rough like all year. Like I never it's hard to be a fan of sports, I think, in general.
Mhm.
Because unless you're a really spoiled Boston fan, or if you're a fan of a specific team and you got to see them when they were good, you're probably just going to be sad or miserable. And that's why you do things like fantasy football and you try and fantasy baseball and you try to like just, mix it up a little bit. But with the Padres this year, I genuinely don't remember the last time a team was this disappointing.
Oof.
There's been others. The White Sox, I think, even to an extent, maybe last year particularly, because I think the year before they won the division. But with the Pods, it's like you take into account the headlines and the talent and the spending and all these things. And I still have to dive deep into it, but like Fangraphs has like clutch ratings and whatnot, and I think the Padres are in like one of the five worst teams in that regard since 2000. So yeah, man. I just it's really maddening to see a team that has like no fight in it. And that was supposed to have fight in it. And I think it would have been a really good thing for baseball as a whole, for a team that spent, a team that tried to at least make the playoffs. I don't think that's asking for too much, but alas, here we are.
You're kind of in that boat with the Mets where they spent so much money,
Yeah.
and on paper, that team is stacked, and then they just disappoint year after year. I can say that as a bitter Mets fan. They are my National League team.
Mhm. I mean, it's New York sports is going through it, man.
They
New York
they
sport,
are.
they have the Liberty, and that's it.
Yeah.
They got the Liberty, and that's it. The Knicks a little bit, but even still, it's just been a rough ride. Giants and Jets are terrible. Mets and Yankees are terrible. I mean, it's really tough out here. Again, all we have is the Liberty. I guess I
Yeah.
say we because I'm on the East Coast, so I still, I follow the Liberty a little bit. But oh my gosh, just it's been a nightmare. But yeah, I think that you mentioned the Mets. Like, I think this has been a really bad year for like the biggest teams. Red Sox, Yankees, bad. The Cubs have been good, I guess, and Philly has been good. But then it's like Padres are a mess, and then the Mets are a mess, and then the Angels, with the two most famous important players we have, are terrible. Right, like the entire Central divisions, right? Like the
Oh,
Cardinals. It's just
yeah.
been a season of I mean, do you know fan bases that are happy right now? What is it, like 3? You
Yeah,
know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
not
Like,
very many. I feel like my Brewers fans, like my
mhm,
Brewers mutuals are like in a good place right now.
mhm.
Um, the Marlins fans are happy,
Yeah,
but I mean, they have Jake Berger now, so like they have a lot
true.
to celebrate.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no, not really.
Everyone's yeah, I think like Twins fans are probably
Yeah,
miserable too because they're like, yeah, we're just in a terrible division. That's our big free agent just can't hit anymore.
no,
Like I think that they're going through it a lot, but yeah, and it's weird. Like I don't remember the last time there was, and it's probably like 5 years ago, maybe recency bias, but like just this many disappointing teams: Cardinals, Padres, Mets, Yankees, heck, Angels to an extent, Mariners for a while.
yeah.
Mariners had people scared for a second, and then Giants to a small extent, and then yeah, it's been really rough. I think all year, all around,
The
despite some of the cool
Astros,
performances.
the Astros have even struggled.
Yeah, yeah. The Astros just got swept this weekend by like the
But the
Royals, I think,
Royals, who were below
which is
the
like
White Sox.
one of my things I will say though is there's so many games in a season that I kind of see these losses as like, well, this is what's gonna happen. You're gonna have dumb win or losses, like
Yeah,
so I can't like almost get mad at those teams sometimes if it's just like we're looking at one series because that's just how baseball works. This isn't like we're recording this after the Cowboys lost to the Cardinals, who are projected to be like in running for the first overall pick, and America's team
yeah,
just lost. So like that's an upset. This wise, it's like it happens sometimes, and I wonder if we artificially inflate the season to an extent where it's like, did that team collapse, or is it just that they eventually they have to lose? If that makes sense. Anyway, that's a little bit of a tangent, but yeah, just a lot of misery this year from all parts. I only know like 3 fan bases that are happy.
I was
It's so
gonna say
sad.
Atlanta is probably pretty happy because they
Yeah,
just
mhm,
built a juggernaut.
yeah, they're a
Unfortunately,
war machine over there. They're just killing
yeah.
it. Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Oh man.
I don't want them in the World Series, but I know that they will be. So
Hey, one can hope. One can hope. Maybe we get some Philly Liberty Bell magic. Maybe the Brewers. I mean, I think they're going to get smoked personally because they refuse to spend enough or make the move to put them over the top. So I think that's what's going to happen. This is the same team that argued with their best pitcher over 250K in the offseason. So I don't know if that team's going to have what it takes to win it. I think they're a good team. I just think that they could be so much better.
yeah,
But yeah, man, I will say I am looking forward to the playoffs at least. Um, Playoff baseball, even if you're like some of my friends who are just like soccer NBA fans, they love the baseball playoffs. So at least we have that. Even if our teams are out of it, we probably have like one we're rooting against. We have good odds to be happy. You know what
yeah,
I mean? At least we
yeah,
won't be upset. You know?
yeah. There's one I'm rooting against. We'll get to that at the
Mhm.
the end. We can discuss
Yeah.
that in full detail. But what has been your biggest takeaway from this season?
That baseball's bad. Personally, I think baseball's really bad. I think it's unhealthy. I think that it's like the Ted Lasso quote about "It's the hope that kills you."
Yes.
Um, that's what it feels like in a lot of ways. And I think that this season, just from a Padres perspective, was an indictment on the front office and management. I think because I personally, without getting too deep into the weeds of the stats and the breakdown of the team as a whole, I think that it was kind of fluky how bad they've been this year. I just don't think a team with this many players, with a good run differential, with good pitching, with good defense, is like 7-38 in one run games. I know it's not literally that, and they just tied the record with the Expos for the worst extra innings
Oh,
record
no.
in Major League history. So I'm actively rooting for them to lose another one. I want the record 100%. If we're gonna make history one way or another, let me promise you that. We head into this season saying we're gonna make history. We will in this way, I hope. But yeah, I think that as a whole, this season, just oof, man, just really sucked the air out of a lot of momentum that the team had. They have all these sellouts just to see May Machado or Xander Bogaerts hit into a double play when they're only down by 1 run, like for the 57th time this year. Like, just really, really tough. And I'm wondering, like, going forward, if there's anything that changes. I'm not totally sure, but I will say that I am talking to a White Sox fan and someone who covers the White Sox. we're not that level yet. We're
Yeah.
literally the highlight of our season was trading Giolito and then a fight involving one of our like signature players. So we're not that far down, but even still, given the expectations, it's been miserable. So
It's fair. We also hired a GM that has like the worst record in the minor league and can't do anything with the talent.
mm-hmm.
The last 7 years now, he's now our general manager. So, it's great. On a positive note, though, like who would you declare the team's MVP this year?
For the pod, that's a great question. I think it's between two people. I think it's between Hassan Kim and Blake Snell. Blake Snell is likely to be the Cy Young winner. That's what it looks like. We'll have to see. Justin Steele of the Cubs got a little bit lit up his past two starts, while Snell hasn't given up more than 3 in forever, it feels like. So
Yeah.
it looks like it's going to be him. It feels like he has a little bit of momentum heading his way. And Hassan Kim's probably going to win a Gold Glove. So I'd say it's one of those two people, especially because I might want to give it to Kim because he's one of the few players that got better
Mhm.
this year. He went from being a not horrendous, but pretty bad offensive player his first year. Rookie, coming from the KBO, it happens, it's fine. But he was a good defender. Then the next year, it became an average offensive player, which was like huge, and it was really fun, and the fans love him. And then this year, he's just like Ben Zobrist in his prime. Like he's unbelievable. Like he's just all across the diamond. He's so fun, so energetic. Also, despite how bad the Padres have been in clutch situations, one of the few players who super like high leverage situations, all the numbers are up there. He's been good. So I'd say it's between those two people. And I'm going to go with Kim because of the vibes, quite honest with you. Not to take anything away from Snell.
Yeah.
One of the funniest interviews in the league right now. I'd say it's probably like him and Nick Castellanos being some of the top two. Um, and man, those two, it's a shame to talk about how good they've been, but then the team just didn't follow
Yeah.
through. But I'm gonna go with Kim because he took a bleep. In fairness, Blake Snell has done stuff like this before. He's literally won a Cy Young before, so
Yeah.
it's not as unexpected. Even if maybe he was a little bit more dominant and is more in the 1st percentile of his position as opposed to Kim. I just think the vibes are great, and I like that he made such a leap
Yeah.
offensively that not a lot of people maybe saw coming.
Yeah. I love picking off vibes alone. So that's a great answer.
Thank
So
you.
yeah. So what do the Padres need to target this offseason? And do you have high hopes for your ownership to actually go after those needs?
I will say on ownership, we're one of the few teams I do have confidence that they're going to go after stuff. They've shown nothing but trying and going for it. Sometimes to their detriment. I think they do too many moves at once is my issue. I think a lot of their moves in a vacuum are fine. Soto trade, Bogart signing, whatever. I just think all of them at once, you're really locking in a lot to the present, and that's dangerous in baseball. But
Yeah.
I have confidence in ownership for sure that they will, if there's a move to make, if they want to go get a star, if they want to make a trade for a player, that they're not going to say, oh, well, our budget's too high. I think they're totally going to be down for that. I don't necessarily have faith in ownership to do what I think they should probably do, which is I think they need to replace AJ Preller, who is a man that I have tweeted about begging for him to kill me in increasingly violent ways in a positive way. That's what I would keep doing. Just type in AJ Preller in my
I
Twitter
will.
handle and you'll have a good time. But unfortunately, I just think that the articles that dropped, Athletic and all that, really showed you that there's some disconnects here.
Yeah.
He's a great evaluator of talent. He's not an awful GM. It's just if you want to make that next step, you need a guy who's going to be able to allocate funds a little bit better. Not micromanage as much. There's a reason why no Padres get better when they get here. Players at least, you either stay the same or you get worse. Or I think that the big moves are like, all right, Blake Snell's a free agent. Juan Soto's going to be a free agent after next year, and then Josh Hader's a free agent. I would not want to sign Snell or Hader. I don't
Mhm.
believe in spending too much on relievers. I know
Okay.
Hader's excellent. It makes me nervous.
Yeah.
And then Snell, in fairness, really high walk rate, and we already have such a big budget. Hopefully, in my opinion, I think this is a team that could just say, you know what, we've got Musgrove. He'll be back next year. Darvish, there are worse guys to bet on bouncing back than you,
Right.
Darvish. And then you still have, Seth Lugo was a revelation this year. Michael Wacha is really good. So I would be a proponent of just taking some flyers. If they didn't have Musgrove and Darvish and these guys, yeah, I would be more than up to being like, let's screw it. I don't care about the walk rate and all these things. Let's try and get ourselves an ace to anchor the rotation. But for me, I don't think that's a necessity. Soto, I almost want to extend because it's like, wasn't that the point?
Yeah.
You traded your whole future for him.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why it's so puzzling to me that they didn't extend him. And it's like, oh, well, maybe he's asking for too much. Agreed. But then they also extended Jake Cronenworth, Manny Machado. They signed Bogarts. They extended Robert Suarez. So clearly they had the money. They just didn't allocate it to him, which is something that I don't think was necessarily smart. Which I know is easier to say in retrospect because Machado and Bogarts haven't been great. But I still stand by it.
I mean, they were good at the time, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Bogarts is great, but
yeah, he's a very good player, and I think he's going to be much better next year. We saw Marcus Semien be bad his first year. Corey Seager, I think he'll turn it around. But for Soto, one thing I do wonder is, are they going to be paying premium for a guy that might just be a DH? A very good DH, by the way. Yeah. Probably better than Yordan Alvarez. But, he's not a great base runner. He's not a good defensive player. I'm just wondering, is this guy actually secretly just a DH in 3 years? And if that's the case, do you want to be giving him $440 million? Numbers wise, he had 1 year where he was good defensively, but otherwise that's been his Achilles heel. He looks like a tree in the outfield. Not to be mean, it's true. He just doesn't move all that quickly, laterally or vertically, whatever. So that would be my thing, is just to see if you can work out an extension for Juan Soto, because it just makes sense. And otherwise, I don't know. And if you can't work out the extension, I guess you trade him, ? Maybe you rebuild your farm and you just have a bunch of depth and assets again.
Yeah.
It's, in fairness, not the worst position to be in, that you're like, should we keep the guy who has a 950 OPS, or do we trade him for every good prospect in baseball? It's a decent situation.
Yeah, no matter what, it's good.
It's like, in the moment, it's awful being a Padres fan. But I know how I am. I know how fans are. We're all going to be right back in, and for good reason. There will actually be a little bit of hope. You still have, despite all the trades, they still got some good prospects somehow, which again, it speaks to Preller's acumen as a evaluator, not necessarily major league, all the other things that I mentioned before, but that'd probably be the dream. And then some low tier kind of bats. Your people, they acquired Garrett Cooper at the trade deadline. Get someone like him. Get these solid bench players. Maybe bring back Jerickson Profar, the best smile in all of baseball, in my opinion.
Yes.
You're with me.
I love him.
He's great. So maybe just bring him back on, what is he going to cost? $2 million. Bring him back for a year. He's a decent bench bat that you can give in the right situation. Do that, and then maybe take a shot on Luis Severino. Bad year with the Yankees, coming off an injury. Screw it. How much is that guy going to cost? I'll take him as my 5th starter with big upside. That's I kind of think my vibe for the offseason.
So that sets it up to, what does next season look like for you?
Next season looks like, wow. If they don't do anything with Soto still here, that's even more of a giant red flag, assuming they haven't extended him. And then also you have to be like, all right, if they haven't gotten rid of Preller next season and they're bad again, it's then going to be an indictment on ownership, which has been one of the rare great ownership changes, along with Steve Cohen. Totally cool with what they've been doing. But if once again they're disappointing and you haven't made any changes, I would be like, look, man, I know you got love for AJ Preller, but it's time to make a change. And I think that you don't want to fall in that trap that a lot of other owners do by not making changes fast enough or the right changes. But hey, hey, granted, at least my owner isn't coasting purely at sitting at number 3 in the 1980 NBA draft. That's the only reason that dude has any reputation. At least mine doesn't have that. You know what I mean? At least mine's the new guy who came in. He's like, yeah, we're gonna make San Diego thing. Not inexplicably break up a dynasty and then hire managers who have been good in 20 years and then sign questionable players and then have Andrew Benintendi be the biggest contract somehow you've ever given in the very small sports market of Chicago. So at least we don't have that. Yeah. Not to roast your team, but I have so much beef. I have so much beef with Jerry Reinsdorf. I just hate that guy so much. He's coasting off of Michael Jordan
He
and
was speaking to
low
the
key one
choir.
of the worst owners in sports. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. We all hate him here. I don't know if you remember this, but a while back, a bunch of people on White Sox Twitter pitched in to purchase two different sell the team Jerry billboards.
yes, I did see this
Yeah.
on Twitter. Yes, that was funny.
So that's how much
Really
we
good
care
stuff.
about him.
Hey, it's really good stuff, and it's funny. It's just like I can't stand that. Like I love The Last Dance,
Yeah.
but man, does that documentary have a fatal flaw of like, why are you? Jay Krause is not alive anymore. The guy who owns the team could probably just be like, "Hey Jerry, calm down. We're keeping Michael." Like, why? Why does the documentary? It's like we're all trying to find the guy who did this type of meme, like with him. So I never understood that, but it's a great doc. But yeah, at least heading into next season, you can confidently say ownership is fine. They still have a lot to look forward to. We're not the Rockies, a
Yeah.
team in our division, who Lord. And you know, I mentioned those articles. There was some on the Rockies from a couple years ago how they traded the best player they've had since Todd Helton for like a pack of Ritz crackers
Yeah.
and then a prospected Austin Gomber, I guess.
And
And
they
then they also
destroyed
paid his
Chris
salary.
Bryant.
Yeah, like they're just destroying themselves. And it's like, oh, that GM got cooked in the articles. For AJ Preller, even in all of the articles, they're like, look, he's hugely like there's a lot of problems here, but he does still have some redeeming qualities. So at least we're not on DEFCON 4, I think, when it comes to GM and ownership, which is a position that is very rare, I think, amongst Padres, or I'm sorry, baseball fans.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, speaking of Colorado, they're also going through it because I just saw again, this is an early recording. I just saw the Dolphins 70, Broncos 20
Yeah.
score today. So,
Man, rip to whoever had the Denver defense going. I know there's probably someone out there in fantasy who had that, but yeah, Colorado sports. But remember, they do have the Nuggets, so they're chilling. You know what I mean? Like they at least have a champion and one of the more fun players in the league, so they have that. But yeah, not great. There's just a lot of embarrassing stuff in sports right now. It feels like I don't know if this is like a recency thing again, but just weird stuff. What is going on? Like, like, are we in Bizarro world? Is like I don't know. I don't understand it. So
I just had to look because the Bears
oh no.
embarrassed me in front of Taylor
Uh-huh.
Swift today.
Uh-huh.
41-10 for the Chiefs. So there's
That was
nothing good in Chicago.
there's nothing good. I saw a tweet that basically was like Taylor Swift's PR team is like pretty brilliant to say that the first time she's going to be out in public, uh, more or less maybe concluding, confirming that they're dating or whatever, but they're like, wait, we got to make sure that it's against the Bears because they
Yeah.
definitely won't lose. You don't want to lose when she shows up. So, I mean, just smart people all around. But yeah, Chicago sports, not great. It seems not great.
No. I don't even think we have the sky right now. I was
No,
so
they
bad
don't.
about paying attention this season, but yeah. I did get one Twitter question for the Padres that
Okay.
is hilarious.
Okay.
Um, how many Let's Go Brandon shirts do you think Manny Machado owns? Like, does he have one in every
All
color?
right. Shouts to whoever asked that. That is an incredible question. That's like the best question I could have gone with. I
Yes,
would say
that was my friend Brian.
I'm gonna say he owns 6 in honor of this certain date in January. No,
Oh,
I don't think Manny's that deep at all. But when that picture came out, it's so hilarious that that was the season they were good, but then this year they're bad. It's like what's going on here? Hey, look, baseball has long been a conservative sport, both in practice and its players and its membership. So this stuff doesn't freak me out all that much. I still really love Manny. I think he's so like
yeah.
ridiculous and just has like a not a smug attitude, but like a I can't think of the like he's just in it. He's got like a gangster attitude to him when he's up at the plate. Unfortunately, not a great season for him. But yeah, that shirt was very funny when it came out. I got multiple questions on my pod and I simply ignored them and I pretended I did not see it. But yeah, Padres very much have a lot of players I think that are on that side of the aisle, I think, very secretly. Not
Yeah.
all of them, but a decent amount of them, for sure, by all accounts. And yeah, I'm gonna say 6, but in reality, I wonder if it's like just that one. You know what I mean? I don't. He doesn't strike me as someone who's like that deep in it all.
Yeah.
Don't check out who he follows on
I,
Instagram,
I
but
was
even
about to
still,
say, I didn't think Dylan Cease was all that deep into it either.
oh
And then I looked
no,
at who he follows on Twitter, and I'm like, I did not see anything like
that's
that
that's
little Men in Black thing to me.
that's when you know, yeah, like the revert the memory thing.
Yeah.
That's when you know baseball on like a relevancy media like uh grabbing sphere realm, that it's not as big as the NBA and the NFL, because this would be like a story if
Yeah.
like Patrick Mahomes was following blank and blank. You people would be like, "Hey, this person's following. What is going on here?" Baseball, they're like, yeah, it's baseball. We don't really care. So it's kind of like you could be following, the worst people, the Giannis Florobopoulos. I don't care about saying his name properly because he's an asshole. From many years ago when he got banned off Twitter, they could be following that dude. No one would bat an eye, right?
Yeah.
Like they could be following actual people from that date in January, and no one would bat an eye. So I just think it's so funny that like fans only just discover this, not necessarily by it doesn't go trending.
Yeah.
The Manny one did for half a second, just because it was kind of like it's ridiculous that it was
Yeah. I
that
mean, it
shirt
was just
specifically.
very in your face.
Yeah, very in your face. Hey, not the worst slogan that side of the aisle has ever come up with, at
No.
least in my experience. So shouts to them, good job. But yeah, I think that is an excellent question, and I'm glad it was asked. So shouts, Baron.
Yeah, of course. I loved it. But yeah, don't look at who players are following on Instagram or Twitter,
Do not do that.
especially when they confirm it by, oh, well, this person can't go to Canada. Dylan.
Shouts to Robbie. Shouts to Robbie too. I remember that. That was the whole thing. Yeah, but just to not get too down that rabbit hole, I think we see the same way on these type of issues. But yeah, Padres just in general this year, wow, just crazy. And again, I just recommend everyone tries just sit back and try to laugh at it. I think that's where you and I are both at.
Yeah, that's
Like
right.
again, I'm actively rooting for them to break that extra innings record because I really think it would be funny. I thought that the night they lost, or they almost lost, when Snell almost threw a no hitter, I thought if they lost that would be hilarious too. You just got to try and find the humor in it. Just laugh it off. Don't get into like heated debates with fans. It's just dumb. Don't worry about it, especially on Twitter or whatever it's called now, X. Like just don't go that direction, and I think you'll be a lot more happy. There's sometimes being disastrously bad is funny every now and then.
It is.
And as a Chargers fan who has never really followed a team that's been disastrously bad,
Mm-hmm.
it could be very painful to be consistently right there and find a way to lose. They somehow didn't this weekend. But again, that's what I recommend to people: White Sox or Padres or whatever team fan base.
Yeah, I'm cheering for the White Sox to lose 100. They're at 96 right now.
Ooh, okay.
We've got like 6 games left, so I kind of just
Mhm.
want them to hit that milestone. Just
That'd be big for them.
I know.
That'd be a big deal for them. I'd be proud. Can I just say, I just thought this is totally random, but in the Tim Anderson fight,
Yeah.
first of all, the call by the Guardians broadcaster is my favorite of the year.
Yes.
The down goes Anderson. I'm sorry, I got love for TA too, but it was just, the guy was clearly having so much fun with it. Like he had so much fun with it. he knew in the moment, oh, this is good. I got an idea. Eloy somehow managing to get hurt there is easily the funniest like thing I think about that season. I was cackling in my room by myself at like 5 p.m. or whatever it happened. I just like all the vibes on the White Sox. Jeez. But anyway, go ahead.
No, you're fine. No, they're just ridiculous. I was going out with some friends, like more White Sox people. We were in Bridgeport even.
Mm-hmm.
And they were playing that night, but they weren't, home. And I kind of walked into this little bar area, and a bunch of our friends, because I walked in with Janice. You might know Janice. I walked in with her.
Yeah.
And everyone just kind of like stopped us, and they were like, "Oh my God, there's a fight going on." And we were just like watching over and over and over because they probably replayed that fight like 7 times. And I was like, this is a new low as
I
a White
know.
Sox fan.
I think I was changing the channel, and then I saw the post like when the bench is clear and like
Yeah.
people are trying to calm things down. That's when I turned on the channel. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Wait, we gotta pause. Like my mom wanted to watch a movie or something, so I had to like pause for a second. And man, it was iconic. And I have nothing against Jose Ramirez. I
No.
just wanted Tim Anderson to get a single W. You know what I mean? Like just L after L. Some are self-imposed by himself, I understand, off the
Yeah.
field wise, but I don't know. I just root for the guy. I think he's such a fun player. I think he's a different personality that often gets people in baseball very upset.
Mm-hmm.
And I was rooting for him, but unfortunately, and one of my close White Sox fans, he's just like, yeah, it was a tough look. I still love the guy, but man, it would have been better if he came out on top, because then you would be able to turn that into merch and like a meme,
Yeah.
and you'd be like, yeah, we lost 100, but we won the fight. You know what I mean? But
Yes.
unfortunately,
See?
it
That's all
didn't go that way.
we needed some kind of win there, and we got
My
nothing.
God, is there a single W that happened this year for the White Sox? Luis Robert, there we go.
Yeah.
He's good.
But
He finally broke out. Yeah.
Yeah.
By finally, I mean, year 2 or 3 or whatever. He's still young, but you
Yeah.
had that, I guess. That's cool.
We did have him. Yeah, we had him.
No.
I can't think of a single. It was the friends that were made along the way.
Of course.
I don't. I mean, I guess domestic violence organizations got a shit ton of money from me and some others.
Yeah,
so that was a big win.
Of course, yeah. Former Padre amongst them.
Yeah, thanks. All right.
hey, we didn't trade him to you. We didn't trade. We just said, see ya. See you later, man.
You made the right decision.
Yeah, they got ahead of the curve on that. Yeah.
Man. All right, we're going to take a very quick break, and then we'll be back to break down this series. All right. And we're back. So we are recording a week early, so we don't know pitching matchups just yet. And we've kind of talked about some of your pitchers already, but what are your thoughts on your pitching rotation right now?
Pitching rotation right now is pretty great. It's unfortunate that the Padres, at the time we're recording, had started showing some signs of potentially making a miracle comeback. Then naturally they blew it in extra innings again. We mentioned the record of the extra innings record, but pitching's been great. I think that if you haven't been following Padres, you'll be surprised by I think how good Seth Lugo has been. Not like some ace player. I still think he's a 4 or 5, but this is a reliever who became a starting pitcher this year, and he's really transitioned really well. He doesn't get as many whiffs and whatnot as he usually did as a reliever, so I guess he's compensating for that by going more innings as a starting pitcher. But he's just a solid starter, and he's Puerto Rican, so I have to root for him no matter what. So he's really solid. And then Michael Wacha, who you might have some experience against. He was on the Red Sox last year, and he's been really solid too. Just a solid, steady pitching from the Padres. I know the White Sox offense hasn't been very good. Basically, nothing has been good. But the Padres pitching is very secretly, outside of Snell, just been very, very good this year. And also, you get to watch Snell, who could potentially be making. I don't know what the matchups are. I can't plan that far ahead and what the rest days will be. But if you see Snell, then that could be his final start of the season to be the cap on what will likely be a Cy Young winning season. So that's kind of cool. If you're just a fan of watching great pitching, that guy's a blast. Or at the very minimum, White Sox fans, if you want, I don't know what the verdict is on the White Sox broadcasters or anything, but if you want, go tune into the Padres broadcast. You get Don Orsillo and Mark Grant just killing it, and they'll probably interview Blake Snell again, who's the best interview, or at least one of the best interviews in baseball right now. His not rants, but his inquiry on WRC Plus, one of my favorite moments from the season. I just think it was so funny when he asked, "Well, why the plus?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I agree. Why is there a plus?" Yeah, great point, man. Just killing it. So that's something to look forward to. But for the pitching side, that's what I'd say for White Sox fans to look out for, and then just enjoy really good defense. Ha-Seong Kim and then Tatis, which we shockingly haven't talked much about, which is
No.
rare. Which
Yeah.
is rare. I feel like I've let my Padres conglomerate down. But with him, the transition from shortstop to right field went so well. The fact that he's probably going to be a Gold Glove guy. He At the time we're recording this, he robbed a home run from going over the right field fence and Petco. That was great. He's been awesome there. So while his bat isn't quite as good as it was at his MVP sort of level, he's still working back from the shoulder and all that. The defense is it's going to be cool, I think, to see him out there. And then if you're want to watch chaos, hit the ball to left field. You might get some fun stuff for Juan Soto, not because he'll be good there,
Yeah.
but because he might just let a ball fall or track it weird or whatever. So you could watch that. And, Gary Sanchez before he got hurt was there. He's hurt, unfortunately, now. That stinks. St. Gary. He's not there anymore. But yeah, I'd say that's probably the main things to watch out for if you're White Sox folk.
I think one of the best reasons why we have not talked about Tatis is because White Sox fans are still very bitter about the whole James Shields
Tatis. Yeah, we fleeced you on that one.
Yeah. Yes, you did. I still remember how angry my spouse was over that.
Really? In the moment?
In the moment, yeah.
Wow. So they called it. Okay. Because I remember at the time, it's just so hard, right?
Yeah.
Like, know what prospects are, going to happen, right? But it's still, pretty crazy to look back at it, obviously. And it's the best move that probably was made of his career, obviously. Yeah. But I don't know how old Tatis was even at the time. I mean, he was probably like 12 years old. So I don't think a lot of people knew. Yeah, he was still pretty young. So I don't think a lot of people really knew exactly what was going to happen. 17 years old, I just looked up at the time. So I was just 5 years off. But like, you never know. These are like lottery ticket guys sometimes where you just don't know exactly what's going to happen. And, we got an MLB The Show cover athlete out of it. Yeah. So that's pretty good. But I'm impressed because at the time, I don't remember it being like this. It's like, oh, wow, they got an interesting prospect in return for a really clutch, like been in all big game. James was his nickname at one point. Yeah. Like, all right, this should be interesting. And they still had Tim Anderson in their system, who was their top shortstop. So it was like, oh, that makes sense. Like they already have another good shortstop prospect. And this is why sports are crazy, right? Yes. You never know what's going to happen. And here he is.
Yeah, he made that. He was upset about that. And then I remember the Lance Lindane Dunning trade. He was furious. Ooh. And I was too, because I liked Dane a lot. I was like, you were trading a very young, like decent pit. Like he was already pretty decent, and he only got better down in Texas for a rental Lance Lynn, who, don't get me wrong, I loved Lance Lynn too, but we were both a little
not great.
No.
Rick Hahn doesn't seem to have had, or I should say had, the best approval rating in the world. No.
I also, one year, again, for my spouse, for his birthday, this was, winter still. He's got a February birthday. I made like a White Sox cake. It was like a churro cake because it was cinnamon cake. And then I put like cream cheese and like it was so good. And I decorated it. I put the White Sox logo on it and like the bright green grass around it. And on the side of it, I put "and Manny more," hoping that we were going, because this was like we could get Bryce Harper or we can get Machado or this can happen. And I put this on his cake, and then I was like, well, never mind. Sorry.
I just
ruining everything.
I just remember like when Harper side with Philly was like, okay, yeah. When Machado side with City, he was like the bro is flabbergasted, like that meme, like that's just it was just crazy at the time, especially that it took so long for it to happen. But yeah, I mean, and you're not the only fan base. I know that like my Yankees fans are like, and there was a great article from MLB.com, I think a month or so ago, about the Yankees falling apart. And one of the things they point out that I've been saying a lot about the Yankees is like cut on payroll right when they were one game away from the World Series, and they didn't even call Bryce Harper, who notably grew up a Yankees fan, and then you interviewed Machado and you didn't give a contract offer. This is the richest team in the sport and one of the richest teams in America. That's that's weird, and by design, by undercurrent ownership. That's just wild that the Yankees haven't had a good third baseman since Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah.
So, fun for them. Instead, they were able to, hang out with old buddy Josh Donaldson. That went really
Oh,
well. I know you're a big fan of his, right?
love him.
Yeah, he's the best. So, yeah, I mean, I was surprised by how many teams didn't necessarily go after him. And it was one of those things where those should have been free agents that because they're not 30, they were like 26. It's so rare that you get MVP contenders that aren't like, oh wow, we're paying them for what they did versus what they will do.
Mhm.
And Machado and Harper both fit that bill, yet it was like 3 teams in the race somehow. The only ones that had an excuse, I guess, are the Dodgers, because they were like, we lost with them, whatever, we'll find another way. we just procure talent like it's going out of style, and we already are spending a lot. And the Padres became the Padres, I think, officially with that move. Yes, they signed Hosmer, but we've seen bad teams that don't spend a lot sign Chris Bryant with the Rockies, right?
Yeah.
Like we've seen players that aren't that great, but then for them to do it that year and then do Machado was like, oh my God, is this like just the new direction? And then it ended up being the new direction where they decided, screw it, we are the only professional major sports team in San Diego now, basically outside the Aztecs for San Diego State,
Mhm.
because the Chargers left. So after that, it became official. So thank you, Chicago, for not being
Yeah.
interested in Manny Machado.
We had a seat at the table, like always.
I love those. Those are great reports.
So, with this series, what are your keys for the Padres to just completely take it from the White Sox?
Just play, I guess. And also, don't actually be in contention anymore.
Yeah.
If they're in contention, I expect the White Sox to sweep them. I think by the time this comes out, for sure, the Padres will be officially eliminated.
Mhm.
Assuming the Cubs don't lose, literally every single game going forward. Other than that, if for some reason the season's on the line, boom, they'll lose. But if not, in low leverage, they are basically Ruth. They're Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Like they are just gonna win and hit like a gajillion runs if they're not in it. That's just what this team's makeup is. They have zero clutch gene whatsoever, which we talked about earlier. So that'd be my key, is to just see, are they in contention or not? That'll determine whether they win the series. If they are, then they'll lose. If they aren't, then they will. And then just to see, Tatis on the base pass, I think will be interesting. I don't know exactly what's going on with the catching situation in Chicago, but just seeing if he gets those 30 stolen bases would be cool.
Yeah.
And then just in general, probably just hoping the bottom of the order gets on base and sees what happens from there. And that Blake Snell can still go a decent amount of innings. Waka's been shaky as of his last like 2 or 3 starts. He was good the other day. See him end the season on a high note. I think he can. Whoever's pitching in that regard. And yeah, and then the big thing that Padres fans might want to watch out for is Matt Waldron and Pedro Vila. One of them, young guys kind of getting a shot because Darvish and Musgrove are hurt, being the big reason. But, going against a White Sox team that has been underperforming, to say the least, might be a good showcase, I think, and potentially play into what the Padres decide to do in the offseason. Potentially, it is one start for whoever it is, but even still, I think that GMs will look at that and say, let's see if he shows any improvement. And that's all they have to do. They just have to play their game as usual. Honestly, to be honest with you, I don't think there's too much they have to worry about. And to be honest with you, just walk Luis Robert. I'm totally cool with that. My mom has the walk his ass theory, which is just
Uh-huh.
walk every good player. And she's been right once. And I think that was the Mike Trout Angels from like 2018 when he was literally the only player they had. My mom's just like, why
Yeah.
don't they walk him? But yeah, I'd say let's just walk Luis Robert and chill out. I'll face Eloy Jimenez. Come on. I think I'm scared of that dude. The guy who's been a top prospect for like 7 years and hasn't
Uh-huh.
come through with it. I'm not worried about him. And then hopefully don't slide into short. I don't want another fight incident. Not that Kim would, and quite frankly, not that Xander Bogaerts would. That's
Yeah.
just not their personalities. I think that they're totally fine. I don't think they have any beef. So there you go. That's all they got to do. Just play their usual game, and they should be fine. And yeah, just walk Luis Robert. That's what I would say.
So, is there a big threat? And this could be, distrust of your team, or it could again just be Luis Robert being amazing. Like, what is the biggest threat?
It's because he's amazing.
Yeah.
what does he have, like 38 home runs or something like that? Like we'd been talked about for a while. He had the speed, crazy athleticism, crazy power potential, 30-30 potential stuff, especially for fantasy baseball fans like myself. And he finally realized it this year.
Yeah.
He'd been, back and forth injuries and a little bit of bad luck, but in general, finally broke out for him this year. Clearly the future of that team. We'll have to see if, they keep him. But for now, I'd say just a lot of respect for Luis Robert. It stinks that it's wasted in a lot of ways, that it doesn't go for the team. But heck, I don't consider it total waste. He's been good, and I know that that's been a guy that White Sox fans have been waiting to break out for a while because he has all the tools. So I would just walk him out of respect and say, you know what? I'd rather face Eloy or Andrew Benintendi and his one home run or whatever that he has this year.
I think
I
he's
would
at
much
5.
rather face that. Oh, he's had 5.
I think.
Really? Oh, wow.
Had a couple.
Former top prospect.
Yeah.
Andrew Benintendi, man. Love
Another
that.
person that couldn't go to Canada while he was on the Royals.
Wasn't he the one that said, like, if we're in contention, I'll do it, and if we're not, I won't?
Yes, that is.
Oh,
The Royals
baseball.
are going to be in contention.
Why do we like baseball, man?
I don't know. I hate it.
It's so bad. You just got to clip out what you said. What's gone wrong? I hate baseball. That's what we have to say. Baseball is bad. That'll be the clip.
There are some days where I'm just like, do I like this sport or do I just like pain?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone back and forth. Like, I'm a recovering Yankees fan. I always phrase it that way. I used to be until a bunch of different reasons drove me away, including the opportunity to cover the Padres.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just like, yeah, like I would be off and I'd jump back in and I'll like made a lot of fantasy points today, but like again, I'd be like a fancy baseball draft lobby. I'm like, oh, that guy's good now. You know what I mean? Like it'd be one of those. But now I'm like obviously all in. But yeah, I agree. Sometimes I wonder, like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Let's just go watch, like, I don't know, Only Murders in the Building. Let's go watch like a fun show. Just be happy.
Yeah, I need to catch up on that. I've been a little behind lately, but yeah, you should watch that instead. You have so much of your summer. There's a lot of good shows.
It's a lot of time. Like I don't think you have to show some sort of loyalty. I've never believed that. I think that you're just helping people, especially baseball with ownership that doesn't spend sometimes. Just blind loyalty. You're not a real fan. Shut up, man. Like we're all getting older. The caps are melting. Like we're fine. Like just do whatever you want. Like you can choose to be a fan of another team. Don't be crazy. But if it makes you happy and you're genuinely like super into it, this new team you have, then go for it, man. You don't have to just watch every White Sox game because you have to. It's like I have to watch every Padres game because I cover them. But if you don't, then there's nothing wrong with that, man. Go watch a show, play video games. There's a lot of great video games out these days, despite what the New York Times will tell you. A lot of great stuff there. So just go hang out, enjoy life, and I don't know, read some fun South Side Sox blogs.
Yeah. We're all going to die pretty soon. So just go enjoy life while like we still have a planet. Oh, yeah. So the last one on this
morbid White Sox Padres talk.
Oh, yeah. This is who on the team could make the biggest impact during this series?
I would probably say, I'm going to say Xander Bogaerts because he's been on fire lately.
Yeah.
Just overall, like he's just been, I know that Tatis is probably the right answer because of the defense and the speed and everything. And he could go nuclear and just save that for the end of the season. It's possible with the bat. But Xander Bogaerts has just been like really good for the most part over the last month. Granted, it's frustrating that they've been borderline eliminated for a while now. Like just all the vibes have been bad. And then he decides to show up. I believe he's hitting like 100 with runners on first and third and like 180 with runners on first and second. So that hasn't been great. But all in all, like he has been better of late. He's a solid defender. And I'm trying to look at the splits right now. September, he's hitting 429 in 19 games this September. So that's probably the guy to just watch out for and who could be one to watch, just because right now he's just been so on fire. He's slugging the ball again. That's great. So that'd be the one to look out for.
Yeah, I like him. So I won't be too mad. All right, we can leave this terrible series behind and finish this episode with fun teams that are doing something, not our team.
Mhm.
So, what are your thoughts on the rest of this season?
Um, I'm really curious to see, and this sounds like a hater thing. It's not. I have plenty of other reasons to hate, but the Dodgers, I think them not being some universal favorite might actually work for them.
Yeah.
This has been a vibe for. I know that they have Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, and everyone talks about them, but I don't know. I just feel like they haven't been this universal since day one. They were the favorite, and
Hmm.
because every time they do that, now here's the actual hate in me. They blow it every year, and that's not even hate. That's just true. Outside of truncated 2020 season, despite what the fans and the YouTube comments will tell me, they're not the 90s Yankees, right? They mostly are known for being like the Peyton Manning of Major League Baseball organizations. Great regular season, then they blow it.
Yeah.
So I would actually look out for the Dodgers just because they have all the stuff there. I am worried about their rotation, but I would say maybe them not being the spotlight might help them. It's just something different for them, so that might be interesting to look out for. And then I'm going to be rooting hard for the Mariners.
Mm.
Mariners are kind of my team. I recently watched with my mom. Actually, I had seen it before, but I played the history of the Seattle Mariners documentary by Secret Base, which is just one of my favorite pieces of baseball content ever. My mom now officially is secondarily a Mariners fan. It's just such a fun team. She thinks Julio's very handsome.
Yeah.
He's also just having one of the best second halves of any player in the
Yes.
sport.
Yeah.
So he's great. They have some former Padres on there like Ty France that I root for.
Yeah.
Luis Castillo rules. George Kirby has an awesome name. So Mariners are probably the team for me, especially since they're in the AL, for me to root for. And a lot of the teams I hate are kind of gone. So I'm kind of content, to be honest with you. Like I just get to enjoy baseball, I think, which is fun. But I'd say my team that I'm rooting for is the Mariners, and I'm rooting for Carlos Correa to not make my Puerto Rican self feel any sort of shame because he has been not good for
Yeah.
that team this year. So I'm going to be rooting for him in the playoffs specifically, and then the Mariners.
That's good. Yeah. I enjoy the Mariners. I thought last year would be a year that they would be great. So I'm happy to see that they're at the very least going to make it a little further this year. But I said the same about the Tigers, but I said it still wasn't going to be their year. I think next year, especially now that they, have John Greenberg, who is great and
Mm,
well loved in Chicago. I think now that they've got him, they can actually step it up next year. But I also said this about the Orioles, and the Orioles have just been
yeah,
so much fun.
really fun team. Yeah,
Yeah, I've got them just
they show up time and time again. Yeah,
yeah, I love them so much. They're just a blast. So as long as it's not the Astros or the Braves, I'm content with whoever makes it that far. I can't stand
Astros are
those
great.
two teams.
Okay, yeah. I personally am a little over the Astros,
Yeah.
like the hatred against them. Again, I totally get why if you're a rival team, I get it. But to me, every now and then, I'm like, let's show that same energy for some other things. I'm cool with it at this point. I don't care. They dominate the sport. It's not just that one year. They've been good every year for a while now.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't have as much hate. Um, and then, hold on. No, he's okay. I forgot. You guys once employed my least favorite player in baseball. I thought he was still there for a second, Joe Kelly.
Uh,
But he's not there anymore.
now he's
I thought
back
he was
home
for a
in
second.
LA.
I thought he was for a second, but because I remembered his Dodgers thing and the face that he made
Mhm.
because it's really strong when you can throw at people from 90 feet away with no repercussions. It really shows how tough you are.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a little bit over that. But in terms of the who was the other thing, the Braves,
Mhm.
I I support it. I like the players. I like
Yeah.
Albies. My mom loves Albies. I got love for um what's his face Acuna, even though he can be a little bit of a drama queen every now and then.
He can, but
um
he's good.
yeah, he's very good. He's still an electric player to watch. I love Spencer Strider and just
Yeah.
randomly will just make comments about like music that he loves, like really like being a music head, like he's an Anthony Fantano subscriber. Love that. So I have some love for them, but I think the fans need to be humbled a little bit.
I do.
Calm down, Atlanta. Like you, I'll leave it at that. Your fan base, your culture, not the best in the sport, not the worst, but I'm cool with Atlanta. Just calm down. I don't know
Yeah.
why you guys get mad at everybody for not ranking your players at the top of every list. Just relax. You're a really good team. It's fine.
Yeah. No, but I agree. I do love the Mariners. Like I said, I obviously love the O's. I don't really have like a National League team that I'm super fond of, aside from maybe the Brewers. So I don't really know what's going to happen there, but who cares about the National League anyway?
Yep.
Not
Apparently me either. Like, that's just where I'm at. So
No, it's fine. Well, that's what I've got for you. So thank you again for coming on. Now, just please let people know where they can find you if they don't already follow you on the platform formerly known as Twitter.
yeah, sure. Go check me out on Twitter at Javapeno. In my opinion, the best handle in the
A
game.
good one.
JAVIIPENO. And then at @O_Padres if you want just like tweets about the Padres. I tweet about the Padres for my personal account, but I also do a lot of dumb shit on there too.
Yeah.
So you can check that out. I'm also on YouTube for the show, Locked On Padres on YouTube. And I'll officially be back, or sorry, I will have been back now. I was sick for a little bit, so I missed a bunch of episodes, but Monday through Friday talking all sorts of stuff. And, we even do some episodes, especially with the season winding down. They're going to be a little bit more fun. I do like a fantasy draft with my one buddy who hosts the Diamondbacks podcast, Miller Thomas. We do like a fantasy draft of random things having to do with baseball every week. So that's always fun. And then, yeah, I write for a few other websites movie wise. I might have some more stuff coming out soon. Like I saw Boo Beetle, little things like that. Like I write for Nerdist sometimes. So check that out if you like, if that's your thing. Otherwise, stay golden.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much and best of luck in this final series. It's finally over.
Yeah, it's over. It's like Frodo at the end of the Lord of the Rings. It's over. It's finally over.
Oh
Absolutely.
boy.
I agree.
All
I agree.
right. Thanks.